And let me ask Zaal the same question. So what do you feel from your perspective? Are we going to a kind of a society of more isolation, or it's in any sense of the term, more walls, more obstacles, less communication, less movement, etc.? Or it's just a temporary thing and we will be tired of it in 1 year and then we'll again embrace an even more open world? Zaal, what do you think?
Well, thank you very much. It is obviously difficult to say. So if you listen to what people were talking or writing, some people like Giorgio Agamben, an Italian philosopher, said that it is like a proof of his theory of state of exception, and this is the proof of super state coming and surveillance state. And people like Zizek and Badiou were saying that this might have a chance to bring down capitalism and start something new. So everybody was projecting, some kind of his own or her own ideas and desires into this pandemic, both pessimistic and optimistic. And maybe perfect pessimists like Michel Houellebecq said that it will be same but worse. So possibly we are currently in this the state of being same but worse, because what I see in Georgia is that government is using this pandemic, or the ruling party is using this pandemic to win the next elections. And what I'm seeing in Germany is that the state is supporting, economy. They are supporting Lufthansa and Deutsche Bahn and things like that, but they are not supporting culture, so they are would rather close down all of the theaters and opera and concerts and bars and restaurants, but in order for one of the great films to live up. And this is the situation we are living in, and what we see that we as citizens have extremely not so many chances to react. So we can protest in Facebook, unlike Belarus, where the people are on the streets. We are mainly protesting in writing, and people who are going on the streets, for example, in Berlin, are corona deniers, right-wing people, and so on. So the strange things are happening. And although they hint to a very, I would say, bad direction, I don't know on what basis, but everything. So as we know, and if we are thinking dialectically, what we should do is that every situation is not just bad and good, and there are, good sides that we might use and functionalize. So, for example, myself as university teacher as well, I have the same problems, of course, but what I hear from my colleagues that they are attending conferences where there are people starting from Chile to Japan in different time zones and discussing together, which would be very difficult, otherwise. So people start to have, especially students, access to conferences and to talks they were not be able to do it otherwise. So there are maybe some good points for that, but we are definitely now in this moment losing kind of tactility, so we need, as humans, we need a personal interaction. We need, not just to see each other in Zoom and talk to each other, which is very nice, of course, but we need, we need this aura. We need some kind of this kind of tactility, and this is, without this, we would certainly end in some kind of dystopian future, which would be maybe not isolation, but which would deprive us of very essential things. But and this is maybe, I don't know, even if there would be a vaccine, as Germans are promising us,
and the British.
even in that case, this should be a great lesson of how our life can become. Now we know. So this is not just dystopian novel by somebody. For example, Russian writer Viktor Pelevin, who is writing about these technological things, but this is a dystopian novel we are living in. And now this might be a final warning for us, for things that technology cannot replace everything which is human, and this might be an interesting lesson, and this might be worth of thinking that we need, maybe something very basic, like going in the cafe in the corner and have a beer with a neighbor or a friend of us, and without that, something in our life would change, which would maybe not dehumanize us entirely, but to a certain degree, right? And the second big warning is, of course, so we have now the kind of apocalypse is light, so we can make fun about it. But we have this great, because COVID, when it started in February, it showed us the immediacy of death. So we all looked at Italy and we saw what was happening, and we were scared because that could happen to us. And we started to be cautious, and governments started, to think about something. But we still have this problem with climate change, So we have COVID deniers who don't believe in things that are happening in front of their noses. We have deniers of climate change who don't believe in things which are more remote. But the results of the catastrophe of climate change could be absolutely uncomparable to what we have now. And then we will definitely not be able to laugh about these things, And this should be maybe the final warning for us, to think and to turn around and maybe to change some things.